James Weldon Johnson, the prophetic and brilliant Black poet, wrote in 1917, "Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of faith that dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won." This has become the opening refrain to the Negro National Anthem, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." And what a great way to start out this extra exceptional episode of how I'm celebrating this year's 2022 Juneteenth, remarking on freedom and on racism. And as I sit and tape this, I actually absolutely got a little choked up, because as I continued to read about the significance of Juneteenth, and I'm off on Monday. Don't get me wrong, I'm always grateful for time off, but what annoys me is why was this finally a recognized federal holiday? Well, it became one back with the murder of George Floyd. This was a way for a lot of corporations, including my own, to finally recognize something that we knew should have been recognized for years. And what is the significance of Juneteenth? It is now it's a federal holiday. It originated when 2,000 troops arrived in Galveston Bay, finally and firmly announced June 19th, 1865, that more than 2,500 enslaved Black people in the state were free by executive decree. But dudes, that executive decree came the first day of January in 1863, a full 2 years prior, by Abraham Lincoln. What they think that the original Scouts, Union soldiers, were killed in Texas, and the word never got out. And that's why those slaves continued to toil for an additional 2 years, even though that they were free. I'm struck by the audacity of it all. I'm struck by the cover up at all. And I'm struck why there was no reparations. I think a lot of people from Texas can basically trace their ancestry back with some records, slave rolls and the like, families that have been in Texas since the beginning, and they can track it back. And that's where you gonna need to give up some reparations. I mean, that's 2 years. All those people lived, died, and were free, and they still were subject to slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation is clear. And as I read it, I got choked up, and then I started getting angry. But listen to this. I realized that I have not even read anything near it since high school. But it reads as such: by the President of the United States, a proclamation, whereas on the 22nd day of September in the year of our Lord, 1862, a proclamation was issued by the President of the United States containing, among other things, the following, to wit: that on the first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of the state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then thenceforward and forever free. And the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authority thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of such persons, and will do no act or acts to repress such persons or any of them in any efforts they may make for their actual freedom. So we still have the 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendments. They still enacted Jim Crow laws, which were and are a direct violation of federal law. And they just were allowed to do all of those things. We had to go through another 100 years and have the Civil Rights Act, basically reiterating what Abraham Lincoln had said in 1862. What kind of bullshit is that? And what kind of white supremacy bullshit is that? That the executive will, on the first day of January, aforesaid by proclamation, designate the states and parts of the states, if any, in which the people thereof respectively shall then be in rebellion against the United States, and the fact that any state or people thereof shall on that day be in good faith represented in the Congress of the United States by members chosen thereto as elections, wherein a majority of the qualified voters of such state shall have participated, shall in the absence of strong countervailing testimony be deemed conclusive evidence that such state and the people thereof are not then in rebellion against the United States. He goes on to say multiple things and names the state: Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, except the parishes of St. Bernard, Plaquemines, Jefferson, St. John, St. Charles, St. James, Assumption, Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. Mary, St. Martin, and Orleans, including the city of Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, except the 48 counties designated as West Virginia, and also the counties of Berkeley, Accomack, Northampton, Elizabeth City, York, Princess Anne, and Norfolk, including the cities of Norfolk and Portsmouth, and which accepted parts are for the present left precisely as if this proclamation were not issued. And by the virtue of power and for the purposes aforesaid, I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states are and henceforward shall be free. And these states still are in rebellion, not just against people, all people, Black people, women, LGBTQ plus. It's just amazing that they basically thumb their nose and say, we ain't doing it because we don't want to do it. And we don't recognize it. And they had to have a costly and horrible civil war and basically, why? Because, and what kills me is we had the ingenuity to continue to bake bank and didn't have to use humans and kill humans and enslave my people to do it. We could have been pushed forward into industrialization faster, did it better than anybody else, but yet we still subjugated generations of African Americans, indigenous people, just because they could. And I'm not really just ranting, I'm just how people just ignore laws and they choose. And that's why I think sovereign citizenship is such a bastardization and perversion of democracy. Because you can't have a real democracy and a sustainable democracy if you don't have some rights. And also with some limits, though. Because, again, you swing one pendulum to a liberalization and the sovereign citizen movement, which doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. But this particular law is most affecting why we celebrate Juneteenth and how Texas basically ignored it for 2 years. And how even after they lost the war, they still were in violation because the KKK came along and was still trying to repress us, and all the Jim Crow and segregationist actions down south that we're still rolling against. I asked this when I was reading in my TNFro Is Reading podcast. Can we truly ever be free? We were free. It is truly is. Freedom is a state of mind. I know I'm free, but there are a lot of people that basically say just because I am who I am and the way I look and just simply because of the color of my skin, I'll never truly be free. But I can be free within myself. Me getting the knowledge, processing it, and expanding my knowledge wealth and making me more proud of who I am every single day. That's how I'm going to continue to grind. Or that's why I'm going to continue to grind. Because I honestly believe this Juneteenth that freedom comes with an open state of mind, the willingness to learn, and the willingness to uplift my race. I don't have to kowtow. I don't have to completely assimilate. I can be a proud African-American woman and be free and live successfully and create wonderful things. Come, grind with me if you will. Let's dream and build a better reality and a better future. And again, as always, thank you for listening. This is TNFro Is Reading signing off, and I hope and wish you a blessed and happy Juneteenth. Have a great day.